Guys, first off, I just want to say thank you for joining me and giving me the chance to entertain you a little bit. So I first want to give you a little backstory here. So I love dancing and I love live music. Now, I'm not very good at dancing. I just find it incredibly fun. I like doing swing dancing and club dancing. Now, as far as live music, I pretty much love all live music. I used to go once or twice a month to live music back in the US, and I'd go dancing like once a week. So just give you an idea of how much I enjoy it. Now, when I left the U.S. was about 6 years ago. I ended up heading over to Japan, and at that time, going out dancing was extremely expensive. It was always a minimum like $30 cover, and live music was minimum 10, and that was for like really bad bands. And if you wanted to go like let's do like a really nice band, but still not a famous band, it was like 30 to 70 bucks. So it was always cost prohibitive to go out all the time. I had to like, pick and choose which one I went to, which is kind of hard for me because like music really feeds my soul. And so I really was missing live music and stuff. And so when I found myself in Kathmandu, Nepal, I met this really sweet German girl. She was like this social butterfly, total extrovert, and she was just going around town collecting introverts. And her and I connected. She got my in contact information, and then she invited me out later, like, hey, come on, come join us. And so she had, in essence, collected every stray introvert, I think, and then invited them out individually so they'd come out. Because had she told us, hey, there's going to be 20 people here, do you want to come? Most people would be like, I'm good. But I went out, and sure enough, she had like this whole table, like a long table just full of people. And she was so funny, and she just brought us all together. And they had a live band playing, and everyone was just drinking and talking. Now, I don't drink alcohol, but I can enjoy some social interaction every now and then. But what I was really happy about was that they had that live band. They were doing all covers, but beggars can't be choosers. I hadn't had live music in a while. And so while we were chilling together there was a girl that was next to me, and we started talking just because we were, by proximity, we were next to each other, just to be polite. And we had quite a bit in common. She was also a psych major. She was traveling, and she was going to be heading back to her country in a little bit. And so we just started, chit-chatting a little bit. And, I said, hey, you guys, look, it's really loud. It's hard to talk. Would any of you guys like to go dance? And sure enough, like 5 people hopped up, and we all went out dancing together, and it was so fun. Like the German gals are just so full of energy. Like if I didn't know them any better, I would suspect they were on something, but I didn't get the vibe that they were on something. They just had that kind of energy. It was so infectious. I just loved them. And then this girl, she had these beautiful round eyes. I remember when she was dancing, and she looked up at me because she was a little shorter than me. But her body movements were so fluid. Her body went exactly where she wanted to go. Not like a cocky, like, look at me way, just like she knew what she was doing. And that's when I realized, okay, either she dances as a hobby, she's taken some dance lessons, or she's a dancer. There's no way she just figured that out in her house, because that's what I've been doing, and I can't do that. And so anyway, so I got the vibe that she was a dancer. So sure enough, I asked her about it, and she said, yeah, she's a belly dancer and does some Turkish dances. And she just had this really cool side of her, because while she was in the psych field and treating patients, she was also dancing on stage. I just found that amazing. And so we ended up swapping Facebook information, and she was leaving soon. Otherwise, I would have totally loved to got to know her more. But it was nice to at least make that friend. And we've been pen pals ever since. We've kept in touch this last couple years. So this month, I've been in a slump. It is what it is. I've been pretty depressed. So I'm trying my hardest to get out of it. I've been like exercising every day. But what I normally would do is I'd go find myself some live music with some friends or go dancing. It's just not an option, because right now I'm in Hue Sai, Laos, and it's just not available. The one dance club they have here is allow people to stand around in a circle around these little circular tables and bounce in place while they drink beer lao, and it's just not my vibe. And the music there is just way too loud. It hurts your ears. So yeah, so I just haven't been able to. So I was like, okay, what's the next best thing to dancing? And besides just dancing home by myself, which I have been doing, is I decided I would do a series of dancers. And so I started with the last video where I painted my friend Dimpy. And that had a really warm reception, and it's got the most views of any of my videos so far. So I was like, all right, well, let me post the next one. And I reached out to my friend that I had met in Nepal. I said, hey, would you mind if I painted you? And she said, please go ahead. And she sent me some photos, and I looked at some of the photos on her Facebook, and I said, can I pick one of these ones too? And she's like, yeah, help yourself. And so I looked at them, and there were so many beautiful photos. It was so hard to pick because she must have had a professional photographer there, because he captured her beauty so well. And so I found one that I really liked, and she gave me permission to use it. And that's the one that I'm painting right now. So that's what started this, and it really did help. Just for the record, my mood is so much better since I started painting these. I mean, painting always helps. I freaking love painting. That's my drug. I'm addicted to painting, obsessed with painting. So just that act alone has been helping. But being able to paint dancers seems to really be able to, like, kind of connect to that vibe, that energy of that positivity on when you're out on the dance floor. Like, everything just feels good. So I was really happy to work on this piece of art. I hope I did her justice. I hope you guys can see her beauty beyond my paint, because maybe I missed something. But I try to get the basic essence of her, and I hope you can see her movement and enjoy it as much as I do. With that said, So I was trying to figure out a topic to break down to go with this painting. Obviously I can't always pair the story with the paintings. Sometimes I paint things that are adjacent. However, I met this person in Nepal, so I figured let's talk about Nepal a little bit. Now, there are some amazing things about Nepal, and there's some really bad things about Nepal. Each country has its good and its bad. I mean, there's no exception. And everybody's experiences when they're traveling is just a small little slice of a country. You can't really generalize like the whole country. You can't say, oh, this country's not friendly or this country's not nice. You usually just can't do that. You can get like a vibe in certain areas. And the problem we have as tourists is often we have a skewed perspective, because people either are catering to tourists, or they're trying to exploit tourists, or they're just trying to live alongside them. There's this little window that we see into a country that's usually not the real country. You gotta get off the tourist trails and spend a lot of time in a country, learn the language, learn the culture before you can really understand what's going on in a country, in my opinion. However, those little snapshots do give you a glimpse of the culture, and that's always a nice thing. And while I was in Nepal a couple years ago, I was going to a small village called Sundar Bazaar. Now, the reason I went to this village is because I had met these three really sweet ladies in Pokhara who were volunteering there. And they were just up for the Christmas time. We ended up dancing at a bar together and talking and laughing. And then I saw them again the next day on a whim when I was walking. They were having lunch, and they invited me over, and we chatted up again. And they told me they were volunteering over there. If I wanted to visit them and come check out the village, I was welcome, which I really appreciated. And so I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I'll go check out Sundar Bazaar after I'm done with Pokhara. So after Pokhara, I got on a bus and I headed down to Bandipur again. I spent a lot of time in Bandipur before, and I've also visited again the next time I visited Nepal. It's one of my favorite places, honestly, just because it's kind of off the main road a little bit. It is totally a tourist place, but it's really beautiful. It has these beautiful cobblestone roads and nice buildings. Depending on the time of year, it's got really clean air. I liked it a lot, and I'd go again. So I decided I wanted to head over to Sundar Bazaar, and I ended up hitchhiking from the intersection that heads to Bandipur. I can't remember the little tiny town's name. And from there I hitchhiked over to Sundar Bazaar. It took me a while, but I just didn't want to wait for a bus. I was just being impatient, and so I'd rather just walk and feel like I'm moving than just sit at a hot bus station all day. And often when the bus passes you, you can wave at them and they'll pick you up, if you can't get a ride. I didn't get a ride, actually, and the bus just kept on driving. They didn't stop for me. So I was like, oh, dang it. And eventually I did get a ride in the back of a guy's pickup truck for a while. And then after that, I got a ride with a guy riding a Jeep. He was heading over to that village, not to Sundar Bazaar, but the village below it, about 30 minutes walk, to drop off some package. He was cool. Spoke a little bit of English, and I just gave him a little bit of money for gas. They usually won't take it, but I find that if you give a little bit, you get a lot more from people. Not necessarily in the way of monetary gain, but they open up in terms of, they realize you're not trying to mooch off their country, and I feel like it's a better to be a guest that way, like, and always pitch in a little bit. The reason I hitchhike is not because I don't have money, though. It's just because I enjoyed meeting new people and interacting with people. It was just fun, and I met some really good friends doing that in my travels. I don't really hitchhike too often anymore now. I've traded in my backpack for a more civilized suitcase with wheels because my knees and my back, as you get older, sometimes you just need to suck it up and move on. And actually having the Willy backpack, not Willy backpack, Willy luggage, luggage with wheels. I don't know how to even say it correctly. I haven't had it very long. Adult luggage, I guess. You're treated differently, and you're treated a little better. So I actually recommend doing it, trading in the backpack, because people treat you a lot better. Backpackers, they don't have a good image anymore. They've really burned that bridge in a lot of places. But anyway, so I eventually got my way over to Sundar Bazaar, and my friends were there, and we were looking for a place for me to stay for the night. And we went over to like the local university or college. It's like an agricultural college, and they have a dorm there, but apparently the dorms were full, so they said I couldn't stay there. And I said, it's not a big deal, just point me to where there's a guest house or hotel. I'll just book my own place. I don't need to stay at a dorm. I thought the guy was just trying to be polite, find me a cheap place to stay, but I was like, I don't mind paying money, guys. It's not a big deal. And unfortunately, though, this town was so small, they didn't have a guest house, they didn't have a hotel, and so there was nothing, and not even a hostel. I mean, there was nothing, because people just don't come here, except for these girls who were volunteering and who had invited me, which was really cool that no one comes here, so I get this kind of unique little place to visit. But I needed a place to sleep, and so the guy that this one gal was staying with invited me to his house. He said, I have a spare bedroom you can stay in. Well, he opened up this spare bedroom, and it probably hadn't been opened up in like a year. I mean, it was just covered in dust, and you could smell like the mold. The air was stale. It was bad. And I was like, thank you. And at that point, I didn't know how to back out politely, because if I had said no to his house and hospitality, he realized that I would want to sleep outside versus staying in his house, and that would have been offensive to him. I didn't want to be a rude, like a rude guest. I had a hammock though with a mosquito net, and I was like, that would be way better having the fresh air than being stuck in this little kind of room, this dirty room. Well, he had two other people renting from him. They were sharing a room and going to the college, and they saw the room and they were like, hey, you know what? You can share a room with us. Just sleep on our floor for the night if you want, which I was totally cool with. I grew up sleeping on the floor. My brother had spent some time in Japan, and I guess he told me that they slept on the floor sometimes, like on these little futon. And so in my young kid brain, I started doing the same thing, when I was growing up all the time. Want to be like my big brother, And, so I didn't sleep in a bed too often. And then I eventually ended up living in Japan and Laos, where I slept on these little futons all the time anyway. So it really wasn't a big deal. And so I was like, yeah, no problem. Hung out on the floor for the night. I'm a night owl, but of course, went to bed early with these guys because they went to bed super early. But they woke up at like 4 a.m., which is probably why they went to bed so early. Which makes sense. They're going to an agricultural college. It makes sense. But I, being the night owl, when someone just like starts talking to you like it's lunchtime at 4 a.m., I was trying my hardest to be polite and be like, like answer his questions, because he was talking so loud. He had like no volume control. Like none of those guys. That attribute is extremely common in Nepal and India. They talk so loud so early. And again, I say they very subjectively, just the people I've interacted with early in the morning. It feels they're a lot more peppy than I am. And this could just be like my total night owl bias coming forth, so just forgive it. And I'm not talking bad about the countries, I'm just saying my experience. And so anyways, I was totally trying to be grateful and thankful they let me sleep at their room. And then I was going to head back to Bandipur. I didn't want to impose any longer. But one of the girls had left, and she said I could use her room because she's not going to be there that week, which was really sweet. Because, I mean, who wants to let some stranger in their space? I literally met this girl just like one night dancing in Pokhara, and then one day lunch, like we weren't that close. But I mean, we were all happy and friendly, but to let someone in your space is really kind. So I really appreciated her letting me do that, and because I really wanted to explore this new area. So I did. I stayed at her room, and but I only slept there. All day I usually spent either exploring or at that other house that I stayed the first night with the other girls, sharing meals, having tea, all that kind of stuff. And the people there were really gracious hosts. They let me play with. They had like a baby buffalo and some baby calves because he had like a creamery. Like he was like what do you call that? Dairy, not a creamery. I'm sorry, dairy, where he was milking them and he would sell the milk. And so they were super cute, and I was playing with them. And then, of course, I was exploring the different temples and the different villages that were near Sundar Bazaar. Everyone was super friendly to me. Everywhere I went, people would invite me in their house for tea. Everyone would try to offer me some food. It was just a really, really cool little community, and I really enjoyed it. And there was also like a poetry reading, like an art day that they had going, and I met some people there. One of the people I met there, I'm actually still friends with to this day. She's a really sweet gal, and we've kept in touch. Now, the part about this story that I thought was interesting, the part that I really took home from it, was when it was time for me to leave, I kind of calculated, okay, I've been staying here for this long. I've been sharing this many meals and this many tea time. If I was staying in, say, Pokhara or Bandipur or Kathmandu, I would spend X amount of dollars per day. I have a budget for X amount of dollars, and I have a budget for X amount of dollars for food. And so I just tallied up how much I would be spending, and I wanted to give it to that man because one of my pet peeves is when I see backpackers taking advantage of the kindness of the people in the countries they visit. As a guest, we should not be bad guests. We should always give back, you always bring a gift when you stay at someone's house or when you go visit someone, or there's always some kind of sacrifice that you should make to make sure that the other person knows how much you appreciate their hospitality. That just makes sense to me. I mean, maybe that's not the way everyone was raised or grew up, but I don't want people to feel I take advantage of them. Even when I visit my mother, I make sure to do the dishes every day or cook or do something to help her out, to make sure that I'm not just imposing on her. I know she wants me to visit. I know she loves it when I visit. But the same token, I want to give back a little bit. And so I feel that mentality is super important when you're traveling in other countries, because they will generalize your entire country by how you behave. If you're an American and you act like a bad American, they will think all Americans are like that. It's just the way people are. So I think it's super important to make sure you leave that good impression. So I just tallied up how much money that I thought would be appropriate to give him as a gift. I didn't have anything else to give. If I had some art ready, I would have given him some art that I do, because I'm an artist. But I didn't have anything ready for him. So I wanted to give him something monetary to give back for him sharing with me. So sure enough, I go see him. And when I visited him, I said, hey, I just want you to know how much I appreciate your family's hospitality and what you've done for me while I've been here. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of something, a little something. It's not much, but please accept it. And I tried to hand him the money, and he totally rejects me. And I'm used to that first initial rejection. Like in Japanese culture, you always reject one time. If someone wants to pay for something, you always, oh, no, 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 no. Or someone tries to give you a gift, it's always, no, 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 no. They always try to argue. They want it, but they don't want you to feel like you have to give it, so you have to go through that kind of charade every time. So I thought that's what he was doing. And I was like, no, no, please. And he says to me, he says, guests are like God, and God doesn't pay to stay at my house. And man, that hit me. I was like, whoa, that was pretty strong. And I hadn't heard that yet in Nepal. And I said, but look, I just want to give you this because, and he said to me again, he said, guests are like God. I can't take that. And the message here was, for him, in his culture, hospitality should be given to the guests, because it is how you should treat God. You should treat a guest at such a level of esteem. That being said, I'm stubborn. And as much as I want to respect his culture, I know that these people in these smaller villages are usually not wealthy. And the last thing that I want to do is take food off their plates or inconvenience them by my curiosity of wanting to explore their country. That's not fair. So I unfortunately resorted to manipulation. And what I said to him, this is not true. I said to him, well, I understand what you're saying, but I'm American. And if an American gives you a gift and you don't accept it, it really offends us. And you can see his face like start to like, uh-oh, because by offending me, he now has treated his guest poorly. and then I drove the point home and I said, if you don't take this, it's really gonna hurt my feelings. You're not gonna give him like that sad face. I'm an English teacher, by trade. I'm an English teacher and an artist. And, when I teach children, you have to give like the fake sad face, the fake angry face. So I've got that down. So I can put on a little sad face sometimes. I can't hold it for very long because I'll start giggling, but I can hold it for a little bit, to sell it, And so I put that sad face on and I was like, you'll really hurt my feelings. And you could see that he wanted to respect my culture. I mean, because I'm the guest, so he should respect my culture more than his own of not taking the money. And he finally took it. And he's like, okay, I'm sorry. And he took it. And then of course I was like, I changed moods, I put on my happy face again. I said, oh, thank you so much for being such a good host that, you respect my culture and help me like that, and I gave him a hug, because we've been talking for a couple of days now, and being very friendly. And I felt good that he took the money. My guilt was gone. And you could see that, of course it's going to help his family. And he doesn't feel guilty taking it because he was doing it only because he didn't want to hurt my feelings. And I think that's something that's something we as travelers have to be aware of, that we don't want to take advantage of people. We gotta give back, even when it's important to let people do things nice for you, which he did. But I felt it was important that I also do something nice for him, and that's the only way that I could at that time. So the phrase "guess is like God" came up a lot after this experience, and I started hearing it more and more and seeing people living up to it more and more. People really, they put an effort in to engage with me, to talk to me, to help me, to just be kind and offer me a smile. And, I joked with my sister because, you see, I'm an introvert. And after a while, I just want to be left alone. And sometimes it felt just too much. And so I said to my sister one time, I said, there's probably a warm place in hell for introverts like me where you're just inundated with friendly Nepali smiles trying to talk to you. And that being said, I mean, if that's one of the worst things you say about a country is that they're too friendly, they're doing something right. And Nepal is, and I really appreciate the culture that I got to experience there. Obviously, I just saw what a tourist sees, and maybe a little more than the average tourist, but that's still a tourist experience. I don't speak the language. I didn't live there long term, so I can't say if these standards will hold true. But from my, I think I was there 4 months between my two visits, or any indication of their character as a culture, man, what a wonderful place. So I do recommend Nepal. So if you guys ever enjoy my stories and enjoy watching me paint, please keep coming back. I've got a lot of different stories. I've been traveling for a lot of, maybe a long time now. It's been at least 6 years I've been abroad, traveling about, experiencing these different cultures. And some of my stories are a little crazy. Some of them are just like this, kind of more wholesome, I suppose. But if you enjoy hearing them, I would really love you to just keep coming back and keep offering the support you're doing. Thank you so much, guys.